Yes, yes, yes. Oh, you know what that sound means. Ever in the Paddock F1, Greeny and the Cheese. The 2025 F1 season is underway as we kick that bad boy off in Australia like the good old days. For the 39th time is the Australian Grand Prix. Melbourne, did you know this, Michael? It is the sporting and cultural hub of Australia. Also, Australia is known for the land of kangaroos, giant bugs, and also Melbourne, sir, is said to be the place to get the best cup of coffee in the world.
In the
Thoughts
world?
on that?
In the world? I mean,
In the world, they
I've
say.
never been missing out. Totally need to get out there. What else you got?
Ah, but this ain't no travel show. This is an F1 show. We're racing the Albert Park circuit. 3.28 miles, 14 corners, 4 DRS zones. You give it the full beans for 71% your lap. And oh man, did we get an opener today. That track was as slick as driving a bar of soap through the tub, my friends. 3 drivers were out by the lap 3. 6 drivers crashed out in all. Madness. Rain late almost ruined it for Lando like Russia a few years back. But Lando hangs on, takes the win. Max second. Russell rounds out the podium. Lots to unpack on this bad boy. We are caffeinated. We are medicated. Greeny, good day, sir.
Good day. Great day. Absolute fantastic day. What a great opener. It's always great in Australia. And the thing I love about Australia and Albert Park is that you always get just different results. And it makes the start of the season exciting. It opens up so many different doors and so many different avenues to talk about. We know in a month from now we'll have a much more established idea of where teams may go during the year. We may not, right? But we're going to have a much more established idea. But after today, if you think, Andrea Kimi Antonelli is going to finish, top 5 every single week, or Ferrari's going to finish 8th and 10th, or only one Red Bull's going to score points, you're really, it's not indicative of what we probably will see during the season. It could be. It could absolutely be, but it normally isn't. We've had multiple different winners. I don't think we have had a repeat winner. I can't even remember the last time we've had a repeat winner here. Max Verstappen's only won once, ever. He tried to make it number 2. Lando Norris winning for the first time ever in Australia. Oscar Piastri. And what's crazy about Formula One is that you only get one home race. All right? You get one. It's not like a sport where you play multiple times or you're home multiple times. You got one shot. And I know the post-race show, and I just want to get into it for 1 second here. The post-race show, I think, overused the word completely gutted, like over and over and over again. I know it was rough for Oscar Piastri, but it's the first race of the year. If you're completely gutted after the first race of the year in the rain, in a track like Albert Park that's totally unpredictable, that's a pretty strong word to use. So I'm sure he's not happy with the result. He definitely was not happy if you saw the post-race and heard his interviews post-race. He was pissed as hell. But it was all about Lando Norris and Max Verstappen battling till the very end. A third of a second, a half a second, just constantly. You felt that Max had a shot. Really towards the very end there. You had that crazy pass at the end as well, at the very end of the race there. Speaking of Oscar Piastri, passing Lewis Hamilton right at the end there. An aggressive pass. We'll get into that as well, I'm sure, later. But it's all about Lando Norris and Max Verstappen. And this season, and this race could be indicative of that. A battle between Lando and Max all season, and that would be absolutely fantastic. And then you throw in all the other variables, like I just said before, Kimi Antonelli having a fantastic debut, and other rookies having an absolutely disastrous debut. Yeah. We will get into that later. And we're going to debut another new segment this week, because that's the kind of people we are, as we got some hot seat news already. We got some hot seat predictions already because what a crazy opening race. Cheese, how do you feel about the opening race of the 2025 season?
Oh, it was wild. It was absolutely wild. Track just being that slick and just you touch the white line at the wrong time and the car just snaps for a lot of people. Veterans and rookies alike got caught out by it. So it wasn't like it was just the rookies today. A couple veterans got caught up in that as well. But yeah, it looks like we're just starting off where we left off the end of last season. You got Max and Lando to battle it out here. Seems to be. Ferrari needs to get their shit together. Let's just be straight and honest there. That was kind
Not
of
a
a
good day.
disaster start for them. That was a disaster start for them. Max Verstappen is Max Verstappen. I mean, he almost took it at the beginning of the race there, because Max is just that darn good in the wet. So, I mean, he was cutting through there, and he backed off a bit not to wreck out in the first corner there, but it looks like it's going to be a battle between those two for the time being until a couple of the teams get their stuff together to start the year off here. But that is how you want to start a season. That was just full excitement all the way through. I mean, the start not so much, having the delay, but that ending was classic. Absolute classic. The late rain, thrown the monkey of the wrench, guy sliding off the track. I mean, almost throwing it away. McLaren almost throwing it away there.
What
crazy.
What a potential disaster down the
Oh,
stretch.
my
You
God.
really had a 1-2. I think Max was in third at the time before that double spin out, and he was about 15, 16 seconds behind Oscar Piastri. So he was well behind. It was a McLaren 1-2, no doubt. And then the chaos ensued. Of course, you had the rain coming in late. I think with lap 52, the rain came back in.
Something like that, yeah.
Something like that.
Something like that.
So, and you know what? That also showed, and I think something we don't talk enough about is, the teams in the background and all the work in the background to make sure the drivers are prepared for when that rain hits. And are the drivers ready and prepared, because it's so unpredictable? And of course, when you have rain like that, especially sporadic rain like that, parts of the track are dry, parts of the track are wet. And who has the balls, who has the testicular fortitude to go full speed, or you're going 80% in that turn, or you're going full speed in that turn? Is that corner of the track still wet, or has that corner of the track dried out? And that's all from race control, really, really steering these guys. They don't know. They don't know what parts are wet and dry, and it could be the end of their day. And you take a lot of risks here in the rain. Like we said before, Albert Park is just an unpredictable track as well. And, of course, as soon as the race was over, within 30 minutes, the sun was out, and it was beautiful out, of course. So
how it works.
Completely unpredictable day for everyone. But congratulations to Lando Norris coming right out the gate. And as far as the drivers are concerned, like I said, it looks like a Lando Max year. But as far as the constructors are concerned, throw it all out the window.
Yeah.
I don't know who's going to win the constructors this year. I couldn't even tell you right now with confidence what the top five would be in order. I'm assuming we probably know what the top five will be. It looks like Williams definitely has a shot at that fifth spot this year.
Yeah.
For sure. Obviously, we're very early as to the first race, but Williams definitely does. And we'll get into Williams a little bit later. But it's going to be a Max Lando year. And if we could have it, because we didn't have that to the start of the season last year. McLaren didn't really get going until a few races in, if you remember. It feels like McLaren was there all year, but they were not. They were terrible in testing last year. They did not start the season out well at all. They did poorly in Australia, poorly in China, and it wasn't until several races in where McLaren got going. So now you have McLaren and Lando Norris right at the jump, winning that race, and that could change the dynamic will change the dynamic of the entire season and will really put the pressure on Max Verstappen and Red Bull to perform, especially with Liam Lawson just taking over exactly where his predecessor took off and not scoring points. We're just seeing, I think, Sergio Perez 2.0 here early on, but obviously it was his 12th career race. I don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves in the rain. But he was a disaster all weekend. Not getting out of Q1 was really bad, and I know we'll talk about that a little bit later. But any other thoughts about our top story here? Lando Norris winning, Max Verstappen coming in second.
Oh, if this is what we're going to get for the season, I'll sign up for it right now. You're going to get battles like that to the checkered flag. Well, I'll take it.
Yeah, and just being within a second coming down the stretch, something we just, until last year, we spent a good chunk of almost, it felt like a decade, with just these massive gaps or these singular teams. Now we got 7 different teams rounding out the top 8 this week. When have you seen that? If that's not parity, if that's not excitement, if that's not exactly what you wanted from Formula One, 7 different teams rounding out the top 8, I don't know what you're looking for. Yeah. You're just looking for 2 Red Bulls or 2 McLarens to run away with the whole season and beat everyone by 30 seconds every week? And that could happen, okay? That could happen. We saw it this week. McLaren was ahead of Max Verstappen by a good 15, 16 seconds, as I said before. So it could happen. We could be a McLaren just, half a lap ahead of everyone towards the end of every single race. But started off great. Let's hope it continues going into China in only a week. So quick turnaround there, and we'll see how that goes. All right, sir. We started a brand new segment last week. I think we got the most mail ever from last week's segment. And that is, of course, your brilliant idea out of your melon. Bold predictions. So we each made 3 bold predictions last week. Obviously, we're not going to make 3 bold predictions every single week. But let's get into it. After the first race, do you have either an update on your bold predictions or maybe a brand new bold prediction going into China or maybe for the season?
I mean, let me go back. What did I even have? Lewis not going to win the title this year. Let me tell you that right now. After that start, that was a debacle. That was a debacle all weekend, just about. I mean, that was bad. That was bad. That was really bad. That was bad. Not good.
Wasn't great. He was in second there for a minute.
And the Ferrari pit wall again. Like, come on. Can we please? Please.
It felt
they always try to roll the hard 6, and they never get the hard 6.
It felt like today was unforced errors from Ferrari because they were right there. You did think for a moment there, and again, there was some pit issues and coming in and changing tires, and everyone has that difficulty with the rain, and there's a lot of decisions that need to be made that are out of control of the drivers as far as when to come in, when to switch to the wets. Those are kind of out of control for the drivers. So I'm not going to beat up Lewis Hamilton like you will. Because he was in second there for a minute, and there was like a hope for a podium there for a moment. I mean, you felt it, that like, wow, Lewis could come in second here. Obviously, he came in, 10th? So I believe he finished 10th, so not great, actually bad, especially being like good. Potential podium just like 30 minutes before that. So that was a huge, obviously, shift. But yeah, I get that. I'm going to make a bold prediction here based on everything I saw, and I'm going extra bold because I have faith. I have faith that Red Bull can be much better than they were this weekend. The fact that Max Verstappen did come in second, that was a miracle second. We know, right? Piastri should have finished.
I don't know, Max is Max, dude.
But he didn't. But it's Max Verstappen. I was going to say double podium for Red Bull, but I think it's bold enough to say double top 5 for Red Bull. I think it's bold enough that put Liam and Max in the top 5 in China, especially after this week. I mean, giving Liam Lawson a point after this week because his Q1 was a disaster. It's not like the race was a disaster for him. He was a disaster from the get-go. He wasn't even good in practice, okay? Like, his timing wasn't even good in practice. So, you know, dude's going to struggle.
Yeah.
But I think he's going to turn it around quick. As we talked about last week, that flame is turned all the way up, and he is in the hot seat and then some at this point. He is really in the freaking hot seat now because that was a really bad performance. And the fact that I know Yuki ended up finishing 12th, I believe, but the fact that outside, the first 90% of Yuki's weekend was really good. Can we say that? The first 90%. The last 10% was a disaster, okay? But the first 90% of Yuki Tsunoda's weekend was really good.
Yeah.
You know, started with 5th. Looked good in practice, looked great in qualifying, looked really good in the race for most of the time until he just fell off at the end there. So, you know, with that, Yuki's making Red Bull look really bad for that decision as of today. And really bad. And if Yuki just finished a little bit stronger and scored some points, which would have knocked Lewis Hamilton out of the points, which would have disaster, even though you'll take the 1 point for Lewis over getting in the 11th. But there's really no reason that, you know, any of these teams should be put in this position. So we will see, but I really, really feel that Red Bull has an opportunity to make a comeback here. And we'll see what happens in China. But I think they'll get their shit together. And I think they'll do it really quick because we'll get the hot seats later, but man, they need to turn it around or else it's going to be a long season. And how much is that Newey departure going to affect this team? And it looks like it could really affect this team. And Yuki wants to... He's determined. He's matured greatly from getting snubbed. He got snubbed out of that spot. Like, if they were going to bring in Carlos Sainz or Alex Albon or something like that, I can understand. But to bring in Liam Lawson over Yuki was a slap in his face, and he is on a mission this year. But yeah, almost made it. But yeah, that is my bold prediction, which of course brings us into strapping on a helmet, jumping in my car, because we're going to take a lap around the track. Welcome back after many months of being off. The Quizmaster is back. I am in the cockpit. It is Quizmaster's cockpit. You got 3 questions. I'll probably get them all wrong, but let's roll, baby.
I think these are cupcakes this week.
Whenever you say that, I get them all wrong. So
yeah, well, I think you should get all these. Are you ready, sir?
Go for it.
Question 1. In what year was the first Australian Grand Prix in Formula One held?
1986?
Oh, so close. 85.
85.
Oh, so close.
I didn't think. I thought I knew it. I thought it was 86. Damn.
That's damn close. But that's incorrect. So we're off to a flying start. Good job.
Close but no cigar, sir.
No close but no cigar. Question 2. Who won the first Grand Prix held at Albert Park in 1996?
Who won that? I knew it was 96. Who the heck won in 96? Who was good in 96? Was it Damon Hill?
That is correct.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. I just pulled that one out of my butt there.
Question 3. How many Aussies have won their home Grand Prix in Formula One?
How many Aussies have won their home Grand Prix in Formula One? None?
That is correct.
None. It never happened. Okay.
Has not happened. It has not
I
happened.
was so close this week. You off by one freaking year. Oh, that was a rough one.
I told you it was Cupcake Week.
Yeah, it was a little bit of a cupcake week there. The Damon Hill one wasn't easy. I'm just thinking like who won back then. And Damon Hill won. Sorry, I'm looking it up now. Post questionnaire here. Back to back, 95 and 1996. Crossed over.
Slowly.
Crossed over from Adeline to Albert Park. Won both back to back. 95, 96. All right.
But you got the first question wrong. Because if you don't get them all right, you get a big can of nope. So that'll take us right into losers.
Let's go. Who you got?
Ferrari. I'll say it again. That was disastrous. That was a disastrous start. With all the hoopla going into the season, they did a special event in Milan the other day, showing off the car, which they never do, because they went all in. And to throw that out there in the first week, that's trash. That is bad. That is a big fat loser. Put a big fat L on your forehead for that, because that was horrid. The Austria, that was disastrous. I mean, that was bad. And he's struggling just to get the car back going again. I mean, that was rough to watch. That was rough to watch. He did drive like a man possessed there at the end, especially with the pass on Lewis late there. But that was a man driving pissed. So watch out for Oscar next week, because he might be bringing some extra fury.
He was pissed. He was pissed. If you saw the post race interview with him,
well, yeah,
he was extra.
Yeah.
I mean, besides being a home race, as we talked about, you only get one home race a year. If you're lucky, not every driver even gets a home race. So, yeah, to blow it on your home race, to potentially, and he had one of the best shots of being, as we mentioned, the first Australian to ever win the Australian Grand Prix. He had that legit shot this week, especially with his teammate winning. So, yeah, massively disappointing there. Is it my turn? You passing it over?
Those will be my losers. That is your turn.
Yeah, I mean, I think the first one's easy as my massive disappointment continues as my bold predictions. But Liam Lawson, as I mentioned before, was a disaster, not just in the race, but the whole weekend. The whole entire weekend was bad. And if Max Verstappen didn't finish second, it would look a lot different. But the fact that Max Verstappen is finishing second, what's the difference between Liam Lawson and Sergio Perez? I see no difference. And I think Sergio actually scored points the first couple races last year. I think he scored in Australia and China, if I recall correctly, and then fell off after that. But
I think so.
He's having a worse start than Sergio Perez. How are you worse than Sergio Perez? He's worse than Sergio. That was the whole point of switching over. Am I wrong? He's worse than Sergio Perez, and that is completely unacceptable. You're supposed to be better. And then the guy who should have taken his place, Yuki Tsunoda, had a great weekend and then just blew it. Just like shit his pants at the end. It's like missing the game-winning open dunk in a basketball game. Like, just, he had it. Just, he was he was top 5 and then didn't finish 12th out of the points. I mean, obviously we know it was rain at the end and everything else, but man, he blew it. He blew it big time. He had an opportunity to show the world in the opening race how bad of a mistake Red Bull made on top of the Liam Lawson freaking disaster. And he blew it. You know, I put him in as my winner before the race was over. I'm sure you did too. And then the last 15 minutes of that race just blew his entire weekend. And all the work that Yuki Tsunoda has put in from the time he got snubbed back in probably November when he found out he wasn't going to get that second Red Bull seat. until now, and has a fantastic weekend. And you're like, wow, you're second guessing just everything about Yuki, and then he just blows it at the end. And just being in that junior Red Bull car, who knows if and when he's going to have an opportunity to be, forget about top 5, but score points. So those are my losers.
The VCAP does look better this year. Looks like they made some strides with the car. So.
Definitely looks better. It definitely looks better.
Yeah.
I could definitely tell you that. But yeah, Yuki should have scored points at least. Yeah. Scored points there.
I completely agree.
Especially with all the months just leading up to it. If it wasn't for all the drama leading up to it, and dramatically being in fifth, and having that just phenomenal qualifying, and then shitting your pants like that, come on. It's bad. It's bad. All right. Can we get to winners? You all right over there?
Yes, we can get to winners.
All right. We got a lot of winners this week. Go.
God, well, thanks to the rain and people crashing out all over the place, absolutely. But we trash them on this program on a pretty consistent basis. Mm-hmm. So, got to give it up for Lance Stroll.
100%.
Sixth place finish. I mean, finished the race. His teammate crashed out, the wily veteran there in Fernando. So, 6th place, that's big points for Aston Martin, which they hasn't looked like the best car this year to start off too. So
not at
big
all.
Finish.
And Ken, and not to interrupt, but Ken, like the broadcast, like almost I felt like they were ignoring Lance Stroll for most of the race too. Even at the end there. They were just like, I don't remember his name being mentioned very often at all during the broadcast. Yeah. It was like, oh, and by the way, he came in
quiet 6th place finish for Lance.
Very quiet 6th place finish, but that's a huge 6th place for Lance Stroll.
Huge. That's a good way to just good momentum start for the beginning of the year. Let's see what happens. Man, there's a lot to pick from. Alex Albon, 5th place.
Absolutely.
Huge. He was even, he seemed shocked as hell after the race, to be honest, to be up there, and looked like he was floating on a cloud there pretty much to getting that finish. He's like, I had to wrap my head around this one. So, but it's a big star for Alex. I mean,
absolutely. And good for James
really
Vowles.
Good qualifying. The Williams looks a lot better. Looks way quicker, so hopefully looks like the investment of not really working on the car last year is paying off for this season, hopefully for him. So we'll see how it goes. But
and I do have to say, as far as Williams goes, you from Bahrain to Albert Park, you have 2 completely different tracks, completely different surfaces, and they were really good on both surfaces. So there's no doubt in my mind that Williams can be competitive again. And what a phenomenal thing to have Ferrari and Williams and McLaren just all competitive in there again. And just bringing Williams back, a legacy team like Williams just showing up again is just great for the sport. So I'm very happy 100%. With that 5th. And
100%.
Yeah, we'll get to his teammate in a minute. But yeah, go ahead.
Well, those are my 2, sir. So,
all right. Listen, I got to start with my boy for many years. Yeah, he's not with Haas anymore, but Nico Hulkenberg finishing 7th.
Yeah.
The grin on that man's face is ear to ear, baby. For a guy who a couple years ago was down in Australia, living on a farm and never wanting to drive a car again, to coming back to the shit Sauber team and coming out. And listen, Nico's picking up where he left off late last year. Haas scored a lot of points in the fall. Nico was really good in the fall. He outperformed that vehicle in Haas, and now he's doing the same thing and translating it over. So I wish him the best. I wish the best of luck. And I think Sauber is going to beat out Haas, who just was dead last. They both drivers finished. I know we haven't mentioned them. I just want to get my little Haas mention in there. But yeah, I think Sauber's really got a legit chance to beat Haas. And his teammate there, the rookie, did not look terrible really during the weekend, jumping up into Q2 in qualifying. I think Sauber looks a lot better
Until he,
than...
crashed out. So
Well, rookie in the rain, like, what are you going to do? But I'm just saying Sauber as a whole looks a lot better to start this year than they did last year. Absolutely.
Yes.
And have we not mentioned Mercedes at all yet? Have we not mentioned the fantastic job of a third and a fifth? And just
Fourth.
as a whole, just
fourth.
I'm sorry, fourth.
they
I apologize.
Yeah, Mercedes protested the ruling there, and they won their protest. So Kimi finished. This was 3-4 finish for Merck.
Oh, so Antonelli didn't get the 5-second penalty in the end.
Yeah, they took it away because Mercedes.
That was for the unsafe release, correct? I believe.
Yes.
So my apologies, as I wrote it down right after the race was over. But I mean, and George Russell doesn't even get a mention until 30 minutes into our program. What the hell's wrong with us? George Russell, podium.
He was kind of quiet. He was quiet there all day.
And because it was that late shift from lap 50, 51 until 57 towards the end of the race, it was just a lot of juggling everywhere. Obviously, the rain played a major part of it. But results are results, and the points don't count any less because of the rain. So fantastic for Mercedes. I don't know if Mercedes can continue to repeat. I think they just got lucky this weekend, but we'll see. We'll see. And listen, I don't love the fact that they have on the Sky Sports there that Antonelli is abbreviated as Ant. I believe it should be AKA. I like AKA a lot better than ANT. But that's my personal preference. And those, sir, are my winners. Did we get everyone? Yeah, we got everyone. We got everyone that was legit this week.
Yeah, I think so.
So, of course, we need to have our hands out, ready to roll, a down under slap.
I need to slap my goddamn.
Kangaroo punch in the face.
I need to slap my goddamn. I need to slap my.
The kangaroo slap in the face. That's for damn sure.
Kangaroo punch in the face. We're down in Australia. You get the kangaroo to punch you in the grill.
All right, sir. So who is getting your slap this week?
I think you got to give it to Carlos Sainz. I mean, that was an absolute disaster to wreck yourself there.
At half speed.
I mean, you could have had two Williams at the top 6, top 7 today.
Two Williams in the points. When's the last time two Williams scored points in the same race? I can't think of it. Probably a decade.
Yeah. Nah, for a long, probably
back to like Felipe Massa.
Probably a good while for sure.
I go back to Massa,
a good
like
while
8
for
years
sure.
ago or something like that.
Yeah, or something maybe. Yeah. But yeah, that was just a disastrous start to your season too. That's just not good. Not good. Not good.
Yes. Carlos just wind up, get that kangaroo punch to the grill.
Face.
For a guy who won the race last year. This was the reigning race winner in Australia. And coming out and, listen, a full speed crash I get, especially in the rain. But when you're slowing at half speed and you crash out like that, and then you blame immediately, because that's what I wrote down when in my notes here, that it was a mechanical issue, because that's what they were saying initially. And it turns out, like, no, you just fucked up. Like, that's it. That's bad. This is bad. Especially when you're coming up a brand new team, the reigning champ of the track, and your teammate finishes 5th.
Yeah.
When's all said and done. Definitely disappointing. I'm sure James Vowles is obviously very happy with the 5th, but very disappointed the fact that they had an opportunity to finish top 10, double points for the first time in forever. And those Williams fans that have been holding on for years, waiting for this moment, who felt it coming, and then to blow it like that. But I still think I see really good things for Williams this year. I do. Hopefully this is a blip on the radar. And I know you enjoyed watching Carlos last year with Ferrari, for sure. So I'm sure you want to see in some part of you Carlos Sainz to do well. Not better than Ferrari.
Yes.
Not better than
Right.
Ferrari.
Yeah.
But well.
Absolutely. That's not good.
No.
I mean, he did it at Ferrari too. He did stupid things like that at Ferrari too. So. Oh yes. You know what that sound means, boys and girls. Time to take that fantasy ride to that fantasy island of Grito, where the beer flows like wine and the wine flows like beer. And the cannabis, oh yes, it grows as far as the eyes can see. Let's get it out there. Green and luscious. Take a little whiff. Kick that season off and that air smells fantastic. Let me take a little walk to the top of the hill with our tickets in hand. Are we cashing in or are we checking out?
All right, boys and girls.
Not a good week this week.
All right, boys and girls. First of all, I think the main lesson to be learned here is if you're betting on a race, any kind of race, and it's raining out, and you really want to bet, you want to drink that brown liquid and bet every window, that happy juice and bet every window, just tear it back a little bit. Don't do what we did.
Water. Get a little of that brown water.
11 bets this week between the two of us, and yes, we finished 1-11. I won't get into all the losers, but you did have Lando Norris winning at plus 125. I had Max winning. You had McLaren double podium. I don't know, whatever nonsense. I think you had Yuki Tsunoda finishing top 6. I had Liam Lawson finishing top 10. That was, I can't even say the word, but not a good choice. So, listen, you go out there a little bit, and I get it, and I understand spending the extra cash, especially on the opening race, and we're excited. We're finally getting to bet again. But when it's raining, you might not want to make 11 bets.
The brakes?
In the rain. You might want to just pump the brakes a little bit. Not like Carlos Sainz pumped the brakes and crashed into the wall. But I think we all feel a little bit like Carlos Sainz here in the betting room, as we just got absolutely obliterated right off the bat. We both lost about 10% of our stack. You have a slight lead at 4,525 greenie bucks. At 4,500 greenie bucks. So we're pretty much knotted up through one race here, and I guess we'll see what happens in China. So not a good start from the betting slip, and
No.
just a bad one. So remember, kids, you don't need to bet every window, and you don't need to bet every race. And if you really have to bet, keep it to a minimum in the rain.
Just one.
Maybe one, maybe two. And if you do have a gambling problem and you're here in the U.S., 1-800-GAMBLER. If you do have a gambling problem, 1-800-GAMBLER.
And stay away from the brown water late at night for the race, too.
Yeah, especially here in the States when it's approaching
that
midnight.
That midnight race, and you get the little brown water going late. And
I was throwing those bets in. We were throwing those bets in about 30 minutes to midnight last night. I was drinking I was taking shots of tequila with a guy dressed as a pirate. Long story. So yeah, I was drinking that brown water for sure, and made some bad bets. You might have been a little inebriated there too. I don't know. I wasn't with you.
No,
but,
I was for sure.
But it was Saturday night, and
yeah.
Opening race and
race and get that party started.
You get a little happy.
Pre-race comes on at 10:30 at night. Get out the brown water and let's have a little fun.
You get a little happy. And speaking of which, I'm going to segue for a moment before we get into, of course, in the news. But I did go to the Lego store yesterday to prep. I walk into the Lego store. The whole thing is Formula One. The whole Lego store is Formula One. They have those Technics things. Those who are Lego nerds know. As Cheese had to remind me of what it was called anyway, pre-show. But they had like a 3-foot long Ferrari Technics, and I think they had a Mercedes one as well. They had every single team, every team Lego all displayed out. Of course, I bought my Haas, which my kids now want to build so badly. I'm like, get off. I don't build Legos much, but I'm building my Haas car, okay? Be building that shit. Even though we had a double finish, no points, dead last, but double finish this week, once again. So, double finish is more than most.
That's big.
More than most teams had this week. So,
right.
I will take it. And thank you, Becca, over at the Lego store at Bridgewater, for being so kind and helping us out and jamming with us for a little bit and talking some Formula One. That was super fun. But of course, sir, it is time for In the News. In the news!
Don't got a lot really here for you. Sort of with this happened actually a couple weeks ago, but we just kind of skipped over it. But Cadillac is now official. They've gone through all the hoops. They're official for the 2026 season to be the 11th team on the grid. So it's official. We'll now have 11 teams. How about that?
How about that? I know they're desperate for an American driver. We'll see what happens there as far as Cadillac is concerned. I don't think that's the best idea for Cadillac, as we talked about last week's episode. Really, they should be getting some experienced drivers over marketability here, especially to start. You will market yourself. No one's going to care. No one cared about Sauber last year when they were dead last, or Haas when they're in dead last. Like, nobody cares when you're in dead last. So, no offense to any American driver. And if there's an American driver out there that can be competitive in that Cadillac, that's great. But you want to go with the best drivers. And good for Cadillac. 11 teams in, filling out that grid. I'd love to see another 12 team in there. I don't know how many more teams they could fit, within...
I think they can add one more per the agreement. I think they can go up to 12.
Yes. And I don't know if we're going to go back eventually to the old school way where you have like the pre-qualifying and the qualifying only gets 20 in, even though you have 22 or 24. But they will be going with, it seems, a full grid of 22 to start every race for next season. So super exciting. The more cars on track, the more exciting it is. And, as we're seeing just the parity of Formula One, especially from today, that parity, that just evenness of the difference between the best team and the worst team is not the same as it was 5 years ago. It's tightened up dramatically. And if Cadillac can bring it and tighten it up even more, how exciting is that going to be? So super pumped about that. What else you got, sir?
Official release date has been announced for the F1 movie since the trailer did come out a couple days ago. June 27th, 2025, this summer. It's official.
As the kids say...
Looks pretty darn good.
As the kids say, that trailer was fire. That was fire. Okay? You could watch that over and over and over again. First of all, Brad Pitt is at his peak Brad Pittness in that movie. He had the Ocean's 11 vibe going on a little bit. It felt like he was 20 years younger, especially acting as if he's supposedly a driver that might, wants to make a comeback, and just a great story. I read the synopsis of the story. Forget about the visuals, which look fantastic, but it's a great story. At least it seems on paper. And this could really be a great movie. Forget about Formula One or Formula One fans. This could be a fantastic movie. And Lego, as we mentioned a few moments ago, and the reason I mention it, is going to be tying in and spending a lot of money overall to bring all these different sponsorships together. And you're going to see Formula One on stuff in the U.S. that you've never seen Formula One on before. There's going to be Formula One Oreo cookies. There's going to be Formula One shampoo branded. There's going to be everything. It's going to be everywhere. it's going to be Formula One, like...
Formula One toilet paper. Let's do it.
I was
going
to say ass wipes, like everything. Everything. They're going to go full marketing for this movie. They spent a lot of money on this movie, so obviously they're going to have to go full marketing. They want the U.S. market, but it's a double, right? It's double. It's you're boosting the movie and trying to make money, but you're also boosting Formula One and trying to get more recognition, especially in the U.S. for Formula One. So you got to be pumped. You and I know we'll be seeing this shit in IMAX at some point, probably over the 4th of July holiday weekend here in the States. So I will be there. I'll be coming to you and we'll be watching this in the biggest screen you could possibly have in your face.
Yeah. Heck yeah.
All right. So that is in the news for the week. Let's finish up with a brand new segment, which we may be bringing every week. We may be bringing sometimes. But, sir, we got the hot seat. Not the cockpit, but the hot seat. And right off the bat, we got some drivers in the hot seat. How do you feel right off the bat after the first weekend?
There's a couple guys that you think right off the top of your head. I mean, you went off on it earlier. Liam Lawson, definitely in the hot seat right off the bat. But we knew he was going to be in the hot seat anyway going into the season, just being the second Red Bull seat. But Jack Doohan, especially at Alpine, I think he is in the hot seat already too. Especially with Colapinto sitting there as the reserve driver. So, yeah, I think those two are right in the hot seat right off the bat. Right off the bat. I mean, Liam Lawson would have been even hotter if, Yuki, as we said earlier, didn't crap the bed at the end of the race. I mean, definitely would have had a lot more pressure on him, but definitely those two guys are definitely in the hot seat right off the bat. You can see him by mid-season, both of them possibly not having a ride or being demoted or switched around or...
Yeah, I think for Red Bull's standpoint, and we'll see what happens, I don't want to count Liam Lawson out at all. He just raced his 12th race of his career, and I bet heavy on him. I could be dead wrong, but we'll see. But there's a good chance. I think I would say by May that we might see a flip-flop between Yuki and Liam Lawson. I think there's that possibility that you could see them flip. Really kind of how Max Verstappen and
done it before.
Danny Kvyat, right? Back in 2016.
No, they did it with him. They did it with Gasly and Albon.
Yep.
I mean, Red Bull's known for doing it. They got the junior team, so they are known to pull the trigger.
Yeah, so I think there could be a flip, and I don't think anyone expected Liam Lawson to be this bad, especially all weekend long.
Not off the bat.
So you already got two guys in the hot seat right off the bat in the first weekend, and deservedly so. Deservedly so, and we might get more guys by this time next week in the hot seat as well. So those guys have to turn it around. They have to have good weekends, not just a good race, but an entire good weekend, both of them next week, or they could be in trouble by the third race of the season. And F1's not what it used to be. You're done. There's too many good drivers that want a seat and that are qualified for the seat. You only have so many Max Verstappens and Lewis Hamiltons and Charles Leclerc's and Lando Norris's. The talent level outside of the top 5-6 guys, between the 7th best driver for Formula One and maybe the 30th, you go out into Formula 2, there's not a huge difference between those next 15 drivers, 20 drivers outside of the top 5 or 6. There really is not a massive difference. Franco Colapinto, which we were talking about before, could definitely, we might be seeing him again this year. Yeah, and it makes it fun. I think we had 24 different drivers last year. Maybe we'll have more drivers this year than we did last year that recorded a race. So we will see. And will we see a resurgence of Danny Ricciardo this year? See about that. Is after his tearful goodbye last year. So that could have been a mistake, and maybe, Danny should have had that seat over Liam Lawson. But it was not. I don't think it was the dumbest thing ever to move to Liam Lawson. But it looks pretty bad now. So we'll see what happens in China. Speaking of China, That's where we're going next.
Yes, sir. Week's time.
In 1 week's time, so we will see everyone in 1 week. Of course, thank you everyone for listening. If you like what you heard, give us a like, give us a follow, tell a friend, because that's the only way we're going to continue to expand. And of course, those who have emailed this week, thank you so much. But keep sending those emails, keep sending those questions in, keep sending those comments in inthepaddock@gmail.com, inthepaddock@gmail.com. Or you can actually leave a note on we're partnering with Apple and Spotify that you could leave, send us a text message directly through the services with any questions you have or comments or whatever. And if they're good enough and they're interesting enough, we'll probably read them on the show. So thank you all for listening. Say what you got to say, brother.
We'll see you guys in a week's time. And as always, stay medicated, my friends.
Peace.